Welcome to the DNI YouTube channel, where we're dedicated to adding value to our real estate investors. And today we're thrilled to bring the latest interview edition featuring JP, owner of Parisi Mortgage Group. In this episode, we'll dive into real estate lending and the importance to investors and wholesalers. So grab a pen and paper and get ready to take some notes. JP, it's great to have you on this show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite and look forward to a fun time.
Absolutely. So JP, let's start with what inspired you to specialize in real estate lending, and what do you enjoy the most about it?
Well, I really started back in high school is when I kind of got the love for real estate, taking architecture classes, CAD classes, design, and building little model homes, and kind of growing from there. Went through college and everything. And actually, after college is when I was introduced to mortgages. And so I started out in the residential world. And so that was introduced to me after college back in 2015, and just pre-approving first-time home buyers, and taking it from there, morphed into now where we are is the commercial real estate financing, where we're doing developments, land developments. We're doing 20 unit apartment complexes or larger apartment complexes, multifamilies, ground up construction. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I think to answer your question is what inspired me really was actually, I would say it took a couple years in the industry, kind of really understanding mortgages and what it is, and seeing the smile on the first time home buyers. I think at that closing is what really, inspired me to do more and to stay in this field and to continue to help buyers and achieve financing and first-time home buyership. So, I think that's what inspired me to do more. And so hopefully I answered that question, but I know went off on a little tangent, but
No worries.
That's just kind of how I got my foot in the door and inspired me to keep going.
Yeah, very inspiring. So, it seems like you've been, in this market for quite a while, right? So how has the real estate lending market changed in the recent years, and what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been in it since 2015, and I started out on the residential side. So rates versus commercial were a little different. In the most recent years, COVID changed everything, from guidelines, from interest rates, from, how we view properties and the values of the properties and rates of rental rates. And so rates right now are higher than usual than I would say prior to COVID, but COVID really changed how we view lending, with guideline tightening ups and FICO scores tightening up, and just so qualifications, making sure that we're taking the extra step with documents or whatever the case might be. But yes, COVID's changed everything.
Right. So talking about documentation and criteria, what criteria do you use to evaluate your potential borrowers currently?
Yeah, on our investor side, it's really about experience. What kind of experience do you have? And we look at, even if just you've done one, we'll take that experience and be able to get you financing. When you have zero, it's a little bit harder, but documentation, having an LLC, being able to attach your name or the LLC's name to previous HUDs, showing whether you bought and sold or you renovated, did a fix and flip, something along those lines. If you've had actual ownership in the house, that counts as experience. And so if you've got that, I know I mentioned FICO scores have kind of tightened up. That was more so on residential side, but I've got lenders that go down to 500 if, you can show experience or liquidity. Liquidity and experience are really the two biggest things that a lender or an underwriter would look at to be able to, offer financing. We can overcome credit stuff. It's just more so experience and liquidity.
Yeah, absolutely. So, investors like us, when we're jumping into this world of lending, that's one of the things that we kind of we want to hear, right? That we're not looking at the same thing as a primary home buyer is going to be
Right.
looking at,
Right.
because we have different goals, right? We have different goals
Sure.
to achieve. So very good. How do you determine those interest rates for your loans?
Those interest rates, those come from your FICO score and your, LTV or LTC, depending on the type of loan. Hard money, your fix and flip hard money, bridge loans, you're looking at 10 to, I think just quoted somebody, it was 13%. It was a fix and build or ground up construction loan, excuse me, short-term ground up construction. So it just depends on the program. Depends on your FICO and experience will determine that interest rate and percentage.
So can you tell us a little bit about, kind of walk us through a loan application process? You have to go into details, but just kind of walk through so
Yeah,
our audience understands.
yeah, I would say, as an investor coming to me and saying, hey, I want to buy this, we'll just say, they're wanting to buy a rental. That's already completed, it's done, it's, we call move-in ready or tenant ready. Really, all we look at in the very beginning is I wouldn't even do an application just because, each lender might have a different requirement or different application that they want to fill out. What we look at, we kind of pre-approve them ahead of time before you place an offer or we send it off to the underwriter. We'll take a look at the address, we'll review the numbers, make sure what we have is the DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. That make sure that rate is 1-to-1. And if we have a 1-to-1 based on the amount of down payment that you want to place, 20-25% standard, checking off the taxes, the insurance, making sure, like I said, it hits that 1-to-1 ratio. Then we'll say, okay, here's proof of funds or a pre-approval letter that we'll give to you that you'll place with your offer. Once you accept, or once the sellers accept your offer, then we'll take it to the next steps, because we already know ahead of time that every lender is going to approve based on the DSCR ratio. And, you've got your FICO in place, you've got the liquidity, you have the experience. We're good there. It's just getting that property approved, which is just an appraisal, right, which we're not going to be able to do until after the fact anyway. So we look at the DSCR, pre-approve the property up front with my team, and then we'll give you the pre-approval letter or the proof of funds to place your offer and take it from there. You get it accepted, then we ship everything off to the underwriter. We order title and the appraisal, and really from there it's a 3-week close or less, as long as the appraisal comes in great. So that's kind of how those initial steps, and then we'll dive deeper into it later if there's something pops up from the underwriter or the appraisal, then we'll take next steps. But those initial steps are actually very simple. Okay. It's just more pre-approval on the property, more so than the buyer, as long as you've got that small experience and an estimated credit score.
Right. That's what I think a lot of us investors want to hear is, the sooner you can close, the better, right? Because they want, time is money, right, for them, right? So, absolutely. So it's always good to hear that the process can be smooth, can be closed quickly if everything goes as planned, right?
Right.
So what are the benefits of using a real estate lender? What do you believe the benefits are?
So, compared to another lender or a broker, or how?
Yeah, so other brokers and other lenders, banks, things like that.
I would say the benefit to using somebody like myself is I am available almost 24/7. I try to get back, to my clients as quickly as possible, whether it be a text message, email, or phone call, back to you. Just the communication that you have throughout the day, not just a certain time frame. We have access to over I think we've got a list of, 45 or 50 different types of lenders, depending on your project, so the ability to shop your scenario to everybody to get you the best rates, best terms. We keep our fees low. We want to build a relationship with you. We don't want you to be a one and done. We collect our monies and hope to maybe see or not, whatever, we're good. We'd rather get you in and continue to do business with you. And so we keep our fees low, which, keeps you guys coming back. And so I think that's a benefit, is being able to control our fees, being able to make sure you got the best rates, and just being available.
Yeah. Communication is very, very important. I know it's hard when you go with the bank system or bigger brokers and stuff, because it's their 9 to 5, right? So
Absolutely.
Really good to hear that.
We just had, you see a lot of the other companies too. If you're not working with a preferred broker or a preferred lender, last year you saw all of those non-QM companies that just folded, especially that was here in the DFW area. We just had another one. I'm trying to think of the name. My lending partner was telling me that they said, we're not taking any more, closed up shop and canceled all the loans. And so just being able to work with a preferred and a trusted lender is huge, and only going to make the process a lot easier on both ends, because you guys are investing a lot of money into this. And so we want to make sure you're protecting your assets and getting what you need out of it. And
talking about protecting assets and things. So how do you and at Parisi Mortgage Group mitigate risk when lending to real estate investors?
So that's, I would say, more on the investors side, the back end process of everything, the loan process, with the underwriting processing, those extra steps. They even take it another step where they have a review team that reviews everything. So once it's clear to close, then it's like another step on top of it, that either an executive would come in and say, okay, let me review everything, make sure everything checks its box. What we do on the front end of it, like I said, is that quick pre-approval on the property, the DSCR ratio.
Right.
Everything else on the back end is up to the underwriters and the processors who, as a broker, we don't have those in-house. And so that's more so on them to handle each asset and making sure that they're protecting themselves from any litigation or any issues or something like that. But us as Parisi Mortgage Group, or as a broker, it's more of we do our just initial upfront, making sure our clients are taken care of and getting it through to the final underwrite.
Okay, good. So what advice do you have for real estate investors or wholesalers when they're seeking out lenders? What do you think they should be looking at?
I think they should be looking for a one-stop kind of shop lending, lender, broker, somebody that can handle a lot of what they're looking for. Not one investor might like to just buy duplexes, or wants to do all fix and flips, or some wants to do all of it, right? Someone do a duplex and fix and flip, and then somebody wants to do a development or ground up construction, or buy a gas station or something like that, right? We have all of those tools, those lending tools, to be able to provide. And so I think if you have somebody that can handle everything for you, I think will make the process a lot smoother. Once you do one deal with us, you're kind of already in the system, right? And so we know, what type of borrower you are, the LLC, the entity, you have all those docs with us. We're just copying and pasting. We know you've got the equity or the liquidity to be able to purchase, these homes. It's just a matter of you finding the properties, quick, underwrite, and then get the contract, move it on. So working with somebody with us like that, I think is helpful, compatibility. Yes, we have all the tools, but do you like your broker that you're working with? Do you have the likeliness, anything in common, or it's you want to work with somebody you like, right? And it's just like dating. You go and you try to find that right person, and then you go off and you marry them, and you go on to the next. So you want to work with somebody you like. You don't want to force it, and because that's just not fun. You don't want to. This is supposed to be a fun time, and getting investments and closing deals, and it's not meant to be a grueling process, or just so compatibility, likeness, commutative. You want somebody that responds to you. Many times I hear horror stories that lenders don't talk to either parties, sellers or buyers, and they don't know what's going on. And it could be a couple days before closing, and they're, hey, we got issues.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from you in 3 weeks. I feel I do a good job over communicating and just trying to keep everybody in the loop, whether it's good news or bad news. If it's bad news that I'm bringing to you, I hope that I've got a solution to follow it, or some ideas, and we come up with a solution. I think there's always a solution to any issue within real estate that we can solve. It's just finding those tools and people to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you on that. Having that relationship with your network is very, very important, right? Because these are the individuals that you're probably going to be used as an investor. I will be using the same individuals that work with me, from the forefront, right? But you always want to make sure that you have that relationship with them, so that, it's not easy for them to drop you or something, right?
Exactly.
So
That's
I
right.
completely understand. Well, JP, thank you so much. I mean, it's been a pleasure speaking to you today about your experience being a seasoned real estate lender and what Parisi Mortgage Group brings. But before we wrap up, can you please let our audience know where they can find you online, on social media, to learn more about your services?
Absolutely. So I do have ParisiMortgageGroup.com. It's my online application for more of my residential applications. I do have a Facebook page, Parisi Mortgage Group, on Facebook. Phone number, direct line, 512-694-0966, or you can reach me via email at jparisi@parisimortgagegroup.com. That's really the best way. Call, text, email, and I'll respond.
Awesome. So if you guys didn't catch that, we're going to have it down below. All of, Parisi Mortgage Group's information. And don't forget to like and follow our channel to stay up to date as we continue connecting with businesses in the industry and sharing information with our real estate investment community, right? Thank you again for joining us here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much, and we'll chat soon.
Chat soon.